So, Iran says it doesn't have any intention of building a nuclear bomb. Everyone agrees Iran purified its uranium more than it needs for just running a nuclear reactor. Everyone agrees it doesn't have a nuclear bomb. Everyone agrees it's going to take time. They can't agree on how much time, maybe a month, maybe 3 years. It's going to take time if and when they ever decide to become a nuclear power. So, there's a lot we know, there's a lot we don't know. What I do know for sure is that every time America goes to war, we conveniently forget history. Every time America goes to war, we're convinced it's going to be over in a matter of weeks, if not hours. The proverbial cakewalk. And by the way, have you ever walked on a cake? It's always messy. I don't know why they think a cakewalk is easy. So, as Americans, we spend $1 trillion a year that we know of on our defense. Iran reportedly spends anywhere between $25 and $40 billion a year on its defense. Okay, that's a lot of numbers I'm throwing at you, but we spend $1 trillion a year for our weapons and soldiers, $1 trillion that we know of. We can't do an audit. $1 trillion. Iran spends anywhere between $25 and $40 billion a year. Can we destroy Iran? Yeah. But the whole point of making sure they're not a nuclear power is to prevent a nuclear war. Yes, we can drop a bomb on Iran, but nuclear war is unthinkable and unwinnable. I have no doubt that we could turn Tehran into glass and, as Tom Cotton likes to say, make the rubble bounce. I have no doubt that our nuclear weapons could kill all 90 million people living in Iran. I also have no doubt that the radioactive cloud we'll use to kill all those people will spread to neighboring countries throughout the Middle East and Asia, killing most of our allies as well. But the fantasy here in the United States has always been, at least since World War II, that somewhere within our multi-trillion-dollar arsenal is a magic bullet. There isn't one. We've spent trillions and trillions of dollars. We can't produce a magic bullet. This week, they tried to convince us that the magic bullet is the bunker buster. The bunker buster. But as I keep trying to tell my listeners, wars are never, ever won from the air. Unless you're talking Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Again, I don't see the wisdom in dropping a nuclear bomb to prevent a nuclear holocaust. Let me repeat, only a fool thinks America can drop one bunker buster and that's it. Unfortunately, our commander-in-chief is a fool. You may not like the Ayatollah the same way you may not have liked Saddam Hussein, but you're playing with nuclear fire when you're presumptuous enough to think all America has to do is drop one bomb or a couple of bombs to topple authoritarian leaders we don't like, and somehow that bombing campaign will serve as a catalyst for the Iranian people to rise up organically and replace their oppressive theocracy with their modern iteration of Thomas Jefferson. Iran is not the United States. And I'm not sure if you've been paying attention lately, but the United States is no longer the United States. Before invading, George W. Bush didn't know Iraq was made up of Kurds, Shiites, and Sunnis who pretty much hated each other, and that getting rid of Saddam Hussein would eliminate the central command in Baghdad that kept a lid on all that potential sectarian violence. He did not know that Iran was made up of Kurds, Shiites, and Sunnis. Because George W. Bush thought the Iraqi people were just some monolithic group, Arabs, he never figured the country would fracture into several civil wars, which it did, and our soldiers would end up getting stuck in the middle, which they did. He, George W. Bush, and I'm not lying to you, had zero plan for the day after Saddam Hussein was toppled. Zero plan. But Saddam Hussein wasn't even toppled. He just went into hiding and waged war against our soldiers while hiding underground. I know some of you are going to find this hard to believe, but Donald Trump is even dumber than George W. Bush. So, George W. Bush didn't know that Iran had Sunnis, Shiites, and Kurds. What do you think Donald Trump knows about Iran? Does he know it's not an Arab country? I sincerely doubt it. Does he know the Iranian leadership considers itself Persian, but only 61% of Iran's population identifies as Persian, which means there are also Azerbaijanis who make up about 16% of the country. Kurds make up 10%. There are also Arabs, Turks, and so many other identities, even the Democratic Party couldn't cater to all of them. Iran is a nation run by Shiite Muslims. We're told Iran's mortal enemy is Saudi Arabia because Saudi Arabia is run by Sunni Muslims, but nearly 10% of Iran is Sunni. Who knows anything about Iran, Saudi Arabia, Syria, the Palestinians, or Israel? Certainly not Donald Trump. So, given Israel's and the United States' Olympiad-caliber track record, do you really think Donald Trump or Bibi Netanyahu are equipped to handle whatever comes next if the Iranian people rise up and overthrow its current leadership? That's what Netanyahu is telling the Iranians to do, to rise up and revolt. And he thinks he's going to push it along by bombing Iran. Bombing a country only breaks that country. It only turns that country into a failed state. And failed states are breeding grounds for terrorists, as well as secret cells of physicists producing nuclear weapons and not inviting the UN to inspect their centrifuges. So yeah, bombing countries, shock and awe. For some reason here in the United States, shock and awe always seems for too many people like it's going to solve instead of create more problems. We're cutting about $60 billion in foreign aid this year. So maybe Americans don't understand. Bombs are not food. Bombs are not medicine. Bombs destroy people. Bombs kill women and children. They kill more civilians than they do soldiers. Bombs kill civilians. Shock and awe. Bombing countries does not work. Never, ever, ever does it work. So, before the United States administers shock and awe, too many Americans say, this is always what I hear before shock and awe. Too many Americans say, well, what's the point of having all these weapons if we're not going to use them? To which I say, what's the point of using all these weapons if they're not going to win us any wars? Have you noticed? Have you checked the standings, the Major League standings? Have you checked our win-loss column? We don't win wars. America doesn't win wars. We just drop bombs and kill civilians. That's all we do. And I know there are a lot of Americans who think that's good enough.